Hey everyone. So this video is kind of random. Um, so it kind of came about after an email I got earlier today. Um, so if you don't know, there is a person, Swissix, I believe his name is. I'll link his Twitter down below. He has a email list called the Senior Developer Mindset. I'll also link that below, which I recently subscribed to, and he sent an email to me today, or at least the system did. Sent an email to me today about the idea of assets. I believe it was like something he had written some time ago, but it was an idea about building assets. And his argument was, wow, that's loud. His argument was that developers build assets. They build things that sit there and generate value for as long as you will let them, right? And to be quite honest, the idea was very profound to me. I had never thought of my code like that. I'd never thought of code. I've never thought of writing code that sits there. You know, like a lot of the code that I've written could either quite easily be pulled out and kind of put back in with something better or whatever. You know what I mean? I had never written code that would just sit there forever, right? And I was thinking more and more, and what kind of come up in my head is this idea that, you know what else sits there? And people complain about all the time? Legacy code. You know, that's what that is somebody wrote something that generates value, and it may do it poorly, and it may do it well, but it generates value, else it wouldn't be running, right? And so, like, there's this big thing in the software developing community where people don't want to work with legacy code. Like, working with legacy code is bad, you know? It maybe not necessarily bad, but people don't like it. It's either not, new and sexy or whatever, you know? But like, especially after reading reading that email and thinking about it, I feel like we as developers should be striving to write legacy code. You know what I mean? Code that kind of stands the test of time, right? Like, that's the reason why we write for readability, right? Like, we do we do write code. We do want to write code to be expanded upon, because more than likely somebody else will have to expand on it. But I think we should also be writing code that people be willing to use kind of the way it is. Like, I'm not sure. I'm still kind of thinking about this kind of stuff, right? Like, this is really off the top of my head. I was literally like sitting in bed thinking about this, and then I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna get up and make a YouTube video about it. But I definitely feel like, especially after that, I feel like we should kind of strive to write legacy code. Now, obviously, oh, my phone's going off. Obviously, um, we should still write good code. We should still write good, maintainable code. But we should definitely look to write code that people will want to use in the state that it's in. And I guess there's a lot of factors in that, right? There is how useful the code is. Is there other products that have more features? and stuff like that. But I feel like kind of looking through the lens of legacy code isn't bad, and legacy code is a testament to the usefulness of the code, regardless of the state the code is in now. Because the longer code kind of sits out in the wild, or not sits out in the wild, sorry, the longer the code exists, the more it kind of contorts to 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 match various use cases from various people with probably very different mindsets. And like it's as developers, it's almost like you 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 eventually all code kind of becomes spaghetti code, and you're just keeping it from being that as long as you can, right? But that said, code that exists for 5, 10, 15 years, for long periods of time, I feel like it should be respected a little bit more. I don't know. Like, again, all of these are very new thoughts to me. This is a very new concept, but like I feel like us as a community should have more respect for legacy code and strive to write legacy code, because it's like, even if it's a big ball of mud, right? Like, even if it's all manner of madness, if people are willing to brave the madness to expand on it or to use it, there's a testament to the inherent value that that code has, right? And like, it's weird because people will tell you to do certain things, like build projects, right? But why? Why build projects? And I almost feel like it should be less build projects and more try to build something that delivers so much value that people will want to use it in the state that it ends up being in. And obviously you want to expand on it to make it better, either by making it better um, making it better through adding features, or through squashing bugs, or stuff like that. But if people are willing to use your code, you know like the way, like, again, this is very new, and I might be babbling, but it's definitely something I think we should look towards, is to look to get our code bases into a state where we can call them legacy code bases. That doesn't mean that every piece of code you write should be legacy. You should write with the intention of legacy to be legacy code. Like you trying to mess around with TypeScript, as I have been doing, for the last 2 weeks. You trying to write TypeScript. Like, you can dump all of that code when you're done. It doesn't matter. But when you're trying to build an application, like, even choosing the thing to build, right? uh like, make sure it's delivering value to to the people you expect it. Well, make sure it's delivering value, make sure people want to use it, and make sure people want to use it in the state that it's in, even if they kind of get salty about certain things, right? Like, even if there's like specific things, it's like, oh, it could do this better, and that's always opportunity to make the code better. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like we should build stuff that people will use right in the state that it. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, to be honest, I'm still kind of blown away by this concept, you know, like building something once and just having it sitting there forever. I even think back I even think back to um the last job I had, and I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of the code base, especially as I've kind of grown as an engineer now. That when I look back at the code base, I was like, there's a lot of things that we could have done to make that code base better. But that code base is providing value for the business that commissioned us to write that code. You know, as much as I feel kind of whatever about it, it's providing value. Like that, the code is providing value, and the code can continue to provide value, you know, regardless of anyone maintaining it. Like as long as the use case stays the exact same, that code will provide value. And I mean, let's not even say provide value, will make money. That code will make money. And like I said, I've never thought of my code like that. You know, like one of the things that we're kind of taught as developers is code can change. You know, it's you can just change it, right? But like the idea of writing code that just sits there and generates value, right? And you hear it in other things as well, like digital products, right? You do work to make a digital product, and then it just kind of sits there, and as long as it's available for purchase and people want to purchase it, you will make money off of it just continuously, right? And that's kind of the same thing with code, right? I'd never had anyone say that to me ever. Like, write code that people will be willing to use continuously in whatever state it's in. You know, like that's value. You know, that I don't want to say that's value, but that code is delivering value. And regardless of the engineering principles and all of the stuff that we say that you should do, you know, which for good reason, I feel like if the code is providing value, then that's still one major hurdle. Like, if the code is providing value and people are willing to use it, I think that's one major victory for the code you write. So um, let's let's look to what you call it. Let's look to write legacy code. You know, to write code that will exist 10 years from now and 15 years from now. You know, let's be proud of code that exists for that long. You know what I mean? You know, we can get upset at it, you know, when we're working with it and be like, why does this exist? Why is this here? You know, but it should be a badge of honor that that people are willing to use your code 15 years after you've written it. Like that, I feel like that should be a badge of honor. But yeah, that's all I have today. Thank you for listening to my rambling. It was rambling. um, but yeah, thank you very much. You have a good one.